So the first thing I do all the time is to lower these down. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you. I'm actually very moved as well. So Dean Mihoff, Dean Payer, Thibault Séguret, faculty, staff, distinguished guests, family and friends of our graduating class, and of course to MIM21, congratulations. Congratulations on choosing to study at INSEAD, because it is a place, exceptional place for exceptional people. And it's very smart choice. I'm sure you will agree with me. We've talked a lot about the amazing time you've lived through, and you are the first promotion. So I think it's more than graduation. It's graduation at Square. You graduate from being the first promotion of this outstanding program and from doing it through very adverse time. Bravo. Congratulations also to the people around you. I've seen that you're very energetic, and I would love that we now use that energy to applaud your family, your friends, all the people who've been here all along to support you. So let's give them a big round of applause. One of the best things that you can recognize early is that success, true success, is never achieved alone, and certainly not enjoyed alone. So do cherish the moment that you will spend with the people around you. Alors, I was quite surprised to be asked to speak to you today, because yes, I'm a very proud INSEAD alum. Yes, I am a mother of 5 wonderful children who actually tries to work at McKinsey in my spare time. But I was not sure I had a lot of wisdom to share with you today. So you made me work quite hard, and I hope you will find some interest in the learnings I thought about that I wanted to share with you, okay? As I'm still a McKinsey person, I structured these learnings around 3 points. Sorry about that. So I'll share my perspectives as an INSEAD alum, as a professional, and as a woman. As a former INSEAD student, I would love for you to be wiser than I have been. And for me, that means invest in understanding what makes you tick, what gets it to your guts, what makes you grow, and where you want to make a difference. The world you live in, we were discussing this with your deans while we were working to this place. The world seems to be changing at a faster and faster pace. We don't know whether it is because we are older or because it is true, but what is for sure is you will have to make many choices in that changing environment. And I would love you to use these opportunities to move forward toward your core and strengthen it. What do I mean by your core? Let me tell you a story, my story. I arrived in France. I was 16, just after baccalaureate. I got accepted soon after into a very good business school, ESSEC. While there, I got an internship at McKinsey. My parents thought it was a whiskey brand. I had no clue about consulting, no clue about McKinsey, but I just loved the people who interviewed me. I loved the job. I never leave. But I'm told I'm too young to continue to progress, and so I have to do an MBA. I choose INSEAD only again because of the alums. The ones I knew at McKinsey, I thought that they were fun, and I thought that they were bright. Quite a good decision, I think. I enjoyed immensely the nights spent on the valuation course, the nights spent on the ethical dilemma course, and the nights spent partying. I did manage to graduate, rejoined McKinsey, moved to San Francisco with my then husband, and then back to France after a few years to optimize my chances of being elected a partner. How does this journey feel to you? It felt to me super fluid. Everything was easy, it was great. But then I got completely stuck. Moving back to France was at the moment where the 2000 internet crisis hit. So I know you were really, really small at the time, but at least your parents will relate to that. I was coming to the office in the morning with nothing to do. And add to that being the mother of a young child who didn't like to sleep. She's 21 now, she still doesn't like to sleep. It must be more because of a business school and the partying than something else, but it was tough on me. It was tough on me, it was tough on my self-confidence. I felt like I was a total loser, and this meant that I needed to leave, because I couldn't stand being a loser. My big chance at that time was completely fortuitous. I was pregnant with my second kid, and so I took my maternity leave. And that's, by the way, a very big chance we have as women, because these are moments where you are completely off and you can step back. For me, they were amazing. That was a defining moment. Why? Because I took the time to think about what I really liked. I also considered other jobs. And I realized that I just loved the job. Before that moment, I was on the train, watching the movement of a train. After that, I was driving it. And why? Because I thought about the fact that actually advising my clients, helping them, building new businesses from scratch, working with amazing people, was really creating a tremendous energy for me. And by the way, I realized I was very good at it as well. And so I stayed on. It took me more time than most or all of my colleagues to become a partner. But then I actually became a senior partner rather fast. And I have, at multiple points, defined my own journey. I'll share with you one example. At one point, I was chosen to lead our financial institution practice. It was actually a big deal. I was still quite young. And it came at the time where I had my fourth child, Gabrielle. But it also came at a time where I felt the urge to go back to Africa, where I was born and where I grew up. I saw lots of exciting things happening across the continent. I really wanted to be part of it. I couldn't miss it. And so against all advice, but all advice, some of them were pretty strong advice from more senior colleagues, I split my time. And I had the most amazing 5 years of professional growth. A typical week would be Monday helping build a mobile bank in Africa, Tuesday helping my home country on poverty reduction, and then the end of the week would be supporting a global bank in Europe on optimizing their balance sheet. Totally different environments, amazing experience. So here is learning number 1. Don't let the criteria of your success be defined by your environment. Focus on what makes you tick, what makes you grow, and success will come to you. It may look different from the success of others, but that's okay. So now to the second story. As a professional working across 3 continents, I am much less wiser than your deans, than your professors, but I do see the pace of technology change accelerate all the time. When I arrived in France and when I joined McKinsey, you were given, a black agenda with your initials in gold. It was a big deal. But you still had to write a fax and write and send a fax if you were to ask for knowledge documents. When I was at INSEAD 2 years later, I was super proud of having one of the first mobile phones. It was working 30 seconds between the highway and Fontainebleau. Now, our lives are fully different. We are talking about the metaverse, from buying your dream house. I don't know if you've looked at them, but frankly, they are really dream house and affordable in the metaverse, to economic impact of up to 5 trillion in the next 7 years. And yes, that's a McKinsey forecast. Well, you know all that. You understand it much better than I will ever do. But will you understand it in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, when you will lead? Think about the implications this has on how you will lead. My job as a leader has evolved a lot over the years, from being an integrative expert, someone who really knows deep a sector, something in a sector, to being much more an orchestrator of others, someone who understands the dynamic of an ecosystem, does form a conviction for where that ecosystem is going, but then is able to integrate the viewpoints of people who know better than I do. To be this kind of leader, I think this is the kind of leader that our future needs. You need to fight the biases that we all have. Pattern recognition, that makes us think that past is a good indicator of a future. The orthodoxies, so you are the boss, so you know better. And for that, you need to think about how you can become an open architecture leader, someone who creates value in assembling others and enabling them for success. I will tell you about a second important learning into a moment for me. I was serving a large Pan-African bank on a very ambitious growth journey. And one day we were working with the COO of that bank, so a chief operating officer, and it was on payments, and he had his best payment experts. And we had brought, the best McKinsey payment experts from all around the world. And we were discussing the pluses and minuses of joining one credit card scheme or another, so the existing ones, the one you use. The debate was very heated. And then the business analyst, I know we do have a few McKinsey business analysts in the room, so you will recognize yourself. The BA, the youngest person in our team, raised her voice and said, "Shouldn't we consider building a scheme of our own? We are present in more countries across Africa, across the continent, than any of these schemes. And technology does make it much cheaper today to build such a scheme." There was a big silence. Can you imagine the courage it took her to say these kind of things? She was absolutely right. We were all thinking through the lenses of our past experience, some of it based on different context, some of it based on old technology. So this is learning number 2. Think about being a leader who creates the conditions for that voice to be heard, for that voice to shape the way forward. You don't know where that voice will come from. Be open, be curious. So that's about technology, but I think there's another very big change happening around us, one I find in some ways terrifying, and one I believe we must fight as INSEAD alumni and as citizens of the world. And this is the rise of national and regional frontiers and the behaviors that come with it. After a year at INSEAD, you know the value of diversity. You know what it brings, the richness of the conversations, the different point of views. So allow me to tell you a personal story again. So I come from Africa, now you've understood, but also France and Germany. My maternal grandmother was German. She's really my role model in life. She came from a very poor family in Bavaria. She started being a cleaning person at the age of 12. She kind of graduated to working in a factory, then to becoming a hat maker. She had her first child, and then she lost her husband in the first days of World War II. She was widowed. At the liberation, her flat was requisitioned, and 2 soldiers moved in, a French soldier, a Polish soldier. Guess you see where the story is coming. Huh? She fell in love with my grandfather. He was 3 years younger, so that was a bit of a double scandal at the time. And they moved to the south of France, to a village, a very small village, where being German was not exactly welcome. But she did not change who she was. She learned French, she swore and played cards in German, she raised 7 kids with not much money, and she welcomed to her family my father, who was Black and Muslim, and proudly created a very cohesive and diverse family. So why do I share this with you? Because every time I face certain difficulties in my professional environment, I think of my grandmother. If she managed to do what she did, raise a multicultural family in a very narrow-minded environment, then I should not let adversity get to me. But what kind of adversity am I talking about? The small and the big difficulties of being a woman in the workplace. The small and the big difficulties of being a senior woman in the workplace. Do you know that compared with a man, a woman is 2 times more frequently questioned about her competency? And we're talking about the everyday life, the frequency at which your competency in your area of focus is questioned. 2 times more. Spoken over 1.8 times more. So it is not by chance that women are spoken over, it is actually happening nearly 2 times more often. Mistaken for someone more junior, 2 times more. Do you also know that this comparison between men and women, this frequency of aggressions, microaggressions, these numbers double if you're the only woman in a room, are 40% higher if you are a Black woman. And these microaggressions, they hurt a lot more than you realize immediately. They attack your self-confidence, your ability to bring your full self to work. And they ultimately, cause many women to opt out. I'm going to share an example that many of you in the room, many of the women in the room I'm sure you've gone through the same things, but I was working for an investment bank this time. and the client, a man who knew perfectly well I was the most senior person in the room, started to shout at me because he was not happy with an analysis we had done and said, "Take your pen and write what I say to you." I took my pen, I put the cap on, I put it down on the table. By the way, my team did the same. We did not take notes, and that meeting, as you can imagine, ended very fast. What I had come to understand was that I was in a position to make a difference because of my differences, not despite of them. And with McKinsey, I realized I had the power of facts at my disposal and the ability to work with decision makers. So what began as a pet project, looking at how diversity drives better performance in organization, became an integral part of my professional life, an integral part of who I am. And I can tell you, out of my 5 kids, I have 4 daughters. They are amazing on all of its facts. I'm super proud of it. The best part will be when Gabrielle, who's only 10, will also be very good on the topic. It's important to me as well. So I have since covered a number of pieces of knowledge on why women and diversity matter, why they matter for economic growth, why they matter for economic performance. Last year, we launched here in France the first ever Diversity of Origins Index for the CAC 40 companies. Our research now spans all continents. But the reason I wanted to share this with you is more personal. I realized that being a woman in a world of men and a woman of diverse origins, what it meant to me was that I worried about blending in all the time. And so I sought to kind of hide my differences. And you know, it can be quite seductive to change who you are just so that you better integrate, so that you better fit. That can be subtle, and maybe you won't realize it is happening. Personally, I was not good at it, and that's why I would love you to learn. It took me years to remove all these layers of disguise I had put on to blend, from wearing black suits. So that's also why I didn't want to wear a gown today. I wanted to wear my colors. In my home country in Africa, we love colors. But it's also in other subtle ways. I'm actually a very direct person. It took me time to be direct in feedback because I was so keen on not being perceived as aggressive. It took me time as well to talk as much about my German origins as about my Guinean ones. So learning free for me, and my piece of advice for the woman in this room and whoever feels that he or she or they are different from the dominant group, embrace your differences, wear them as the extraordinary attributes they are. Do that now, don't wait. And my ask to all of you as future leaders is to fight for inclusive growth. It is a fight we're talking about. We need to do much better than we've been doing. You know all of that because you've studied here. But inequalities keep on growing. Women in G7 countries still earn 84% of what men earn for the same job. Unemployment rate of Black workers in the US with the same diplomas is 25% higher than white workers. So we need you. You are the future leaders of your respective environment. We need you to be inclusive leaders. You need to think about the role and the difference you can make there. That's it for the learnings. I wish you to embrace the joy of learning throughout your life, to forge your own path, and your own definition of success, to recognize your differences as a source of strength, and to embrace being a leader because of your capacity to do good. And I hope you will fight to create an inclusive environment for all of us. Of course, you can do all of that later, because today you're celebrating. So you're armed with something amazing from the best school in the world, and you've achieved this in circumstances that none of us could expect. You're also now part of a very special family, the INSEAD family. So once again, congratulations, class of 2021. Be very, very proud of who you are and what you've done, and go forth and do good.